All right, we should be live. Let me just double check the sound because you know how my sound gets. It's a little quirky. Let me see. Come on, sound. Come through for me. All right, we should be live. All right, that should be good. Let me know if you guys can hear me. I wanted to thank you, David Lee, in the room. I hate it when I don't have the whole picture. So I did this last video on High Impact Flicks. Everything that I said stands, but it would have been great to have this extra piece of, well, let's just call it news, loosely call it news because it's reported on by NPR and the Counterfeit News Network. But I reported on that white Tesla SUV that plummeted down 250 feet on that cliff in California. And apparently they're charging a 41-year-old doctor with attempted murder. He attempted to murder his wife and two kids. They say, I'm still a little, look at this. This is supposedly what was left of that car after a 250, almost 300 foot plunge. And all occupants in the car have been, what is that sound? All occupants in the car were alive. And the two children, they had just minor injuries. The adults, they had more serious injuries, but just the fact that this thing could plunge almost a football field down a rocky ravine and land like that and anybody be alive. If it was one person, it'd be a miracle. If it was two people, it'd be a fantastic miracle. Well, four people, all four of them were alive. It sounds to me like a plug for an Elon Musk Tesla commercial. Look how safe our cars are. Don't you want one? If you're traveling 80 miles an hour on a highway, don't you want to make sure that you win in the case of a head-on collision? Yes, I do. Where do I sign, Elon Musk? Let me pay, $80,000 for a brand new car. I don't know how they can determine that this was an intentional event. A 41-year-old California man faces multiple charges after he allegedly drove off a cliff in the Pacific Coast Highway with his wife and two children. Authorities said. I love it when they say that. Remember, you're under the rule and the watchful eye of the authority. All four occupants of the Tesla survived the crash miraculously, I say, if everything is happening the way they said it happened. After the car plunged 250 to 300 feet into a rocky beach area known as Devil's Slide. Yeah, that'd be a devilish slide. About 20 miles south of San Francisco, California Highway Patrol spokesperson said that the car's three passengers were the driver's wife and two children. San Mateo County Sheriff initially said on a social media post that the children were unharmed, but the California Highway Patrol said the occupants of the car were taken to the hospital with serious injuries. The driver, this guy Patel, 41, of Pasadena, was arrested on suspicion of an attempted murder and child endangerment. And we know how right and factual the law enforcers can be. According to an arrest report, he will be formally booked into the San Mateo County Jail after his hospital treatment, the Highway Patrol said. The Highway Patrol who's not your friend. I wonder how they arrived at, hey, this was intentional, this wasn't accidental. I don't know. And before we get into our main event, Lackluster, shout out to Lackluster. He dropped this as a YouTube short the other day, and I thought it was absolutely hilarious. If you haven't seen this, you should take a look. Watch this.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Well, I'm Officer Cleo with the DUI Task Force. Obviously out here, holiday and everything, to make sure everyone being safe. That's all. That's all.
Awkward silence. Look at this. Awkward.
Do you have any fun plans after the 4th?
I don't answer questions.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good one, sir.
I'll just keep going?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
The perfect police interaction. We're just out here checking things, and then he kind of looks off into the distance like, oh, do I need to show you my ID? Without even asking for it. You know what the cop was expecting.
Good?
We good? Yeah, we're real good. Real good. Now, the video I wanted to go over, this is a follow-up to the video that I dropped yesterday about this lady right here. I didn't know what her name was. And then a lady named Joelle emailed me and said that said the name of this lady. Her name is Eurethica, maybe? Stasi. And then gave the link and then said what her testimony was. And so what we're going to do is we're going to watch the testimony video. This is Eurethica This is her YouTube channel called Earthica Star. She says that her name is Star, and the video that we're going to look at is this one right here, where she explains what happened after the arrest. Now, the reason I wanted to watch this is because when things are out of sight, typically they're out of mind, and we're like, man, that sucks. We got tyranny in the land. We got a bunch of authoritarian power trippers that are arresting people, and then that person gets arrested. They get the handcuffs put on them. They get in the back of the car. They're kidnapped. They're thrown into a cage, and then we don't ever think about it unless we see like a preview inside the cage. Like, you remember what happened with the Loveland Police Department? By the way, the Loveland Police Department is really bad, man. A lot of bad. I saw a story yesterday from the Loveland Police Department I might cover and might string a bunch of them together. But remember Karen Garner? She supposedly stole $11 to $14 worth of stuff from Walmart, and she had severe advanced case of dementia. And then Daria Jalali, and I can't remember, Officer Austin Hop, and Daria Jalali, specifically Hop, went up and just grabbed her arm, twisted it, threw this 74-year-old woman to the ground. And then you see, and then all this other stuff happens, and they got her blood all over him. And the sergeant, Metzger, is, they're just all laughing about it. And then you see Miss Garner in the cage. She's just sitting there with a dislocated shoulder, a broken arm. She's suffering greatly with her hands handcuffed behind her back in that cage. It's super pathetic. So when we see somebody get arrested and then they get carted away, we don't think about it again until we hear a story like this. Guys, stay tuned. You're going to want to hear this story because this is not rare. This is the kind of stuff that happens to almost everybody. When you get booked, you get fingerprinted, you get thrown into a rape cage, they take your clothes off, they do a body cavity search, completely shame you. I mean, we call these people sociopathic psychopaths, sadistic sociopathic psychopaths. This right here takes the cake. And this is by far, in my estimation, this is by far not the worst situation that I've ever heard of. Matter of fact, some of you in my audience may have suffered greater than she did. So I just want to give you from her testimony what happened after these ridiculous officers arrested her for minding her own business, sitting in a vehicle in a school parking lot, and you'll see why they were there in the school parking lot, there to pick up goat's milk. But there's a deeper story on this, on exactly why they were there, and the fact that they were welcomed there, and what happens to her afterward is horrific. So, and the name of this female cop right here is Officer Winters. Officer Winters. So let's listen to some of this.
I'm going to try to tell this story as short and concisely as I possibly can. Cole and I had a milk share with a local farmer who also works as a teacher's aide at the elementary school. She gave us permission.
Can you guys hear this okay? I've got the YouTube up as far as I can go. I don't think she's got a real good microphone, so you might have to turn up the audio on your end.
Permission to pick up our milk from her once a week out of the back of her car while she was at work at the school. She would just leave the milk in the trunk. We would pull up. Cole would get out. I just rode along for the ride.
So that's key. The reason they were in that school parking lot, and I can understand the concern of somebody, a cop walks up or whatever. It's like, you're in a school parking lot. You're in a white van. It's that quintessential, the white van and throwing kids in the van and speeding off kind of thing. So I understand that concern. The reason they were there is because the person they're picking the milk up from actually works as a substitute teacher in the school. So they were there. They were invited onto that school property. They're waiting on that school property to get this goat milk, to exchange empty bottles for full bottles.
My own business. I didn't help him pick up the milk. He would just get out and take it out of her trunk, leave her the empty bottles, put the milk in the back of his van into our coolers, and we would leave. We did that maybe 5 or 6 times, 5 or 6 weeks in a row. See, there was no light here on me. Sorry about that. This time, the woman's car turned out to be locked. So Cole, instead of putting the milk in the back, he took the empty jars out, put them on the street. He then opened the side doors of the van, sat in the back seat behind me. I was facing forward, not even paying attention. I didn't even know the car was locked. I didn't know he was texting the teacher to see if she'd come out and unlock it. I had no idea why we were kind of sitting there a long time, longer than usual. We usually it takes like a total of 2 minutes to just get the milk out, put the empty jars in, and go. And the next thing I knew...
Somebody asking, this Colorado Springs. It is Florence, Colorado. I don't know how close to Colorado Springs that is.
There was an officer standing there, and she was looking me. She was standing in front of Cole and the side doors of the van, but she looked me directly in the eyes, asked me for ID. I did not know if Cole had a conversation with her. I didn't know why Cole was sitting in the side seat at all. We were parked out in the street, not on school property, because we normally just do this and just really quickly and leave. The officer was asking me for an ID, looking me directly in the eyes, but standing in front of Cole. So I didn't know if she had already talked to Cole or what. I'm hard of hearing.
Thanks for that super chat, Overwatch channel.
Didn't hear anything behind me. I wasn't looking behind me. I didn't know that any officer pulled up or had no knowledge at all, period, nothing, zip. I knew nothing of her presence until she looked me dead in the eyes and asked for identification. And at that point I told her, that's none of your business, which is the truth. I have no contracts to identify or obligation to identify myself with anyone without them having a good probable cause and stating that and verifying the reason that I was there. And none of that had happened to my knowledge before she demanded that I give her some ID and that I step out of the van when I told her that was none of her business.
Now, if you'll remember in this video right here, she mentioned 18 USC 242, deprivation of rights under color of law, and said, hey, what you're doing is under color of law. I haven't committed a crime, therefore I don't need to give myself away. In other words, make myself unanonymous and make myself insecure in my person. So you don't have a right, Officer Winters, to get my ID. You don't have any reason to get my ID. No crime has been committed. She's right on about that.
And I told her no, that I wouldn't step out. And
thanks, James Williams. I appreciate it.
And then I closed my door because I had just opened it to let the air and the sun come in while Cole was grabbing the milk. And I closed and locked my door. She came over to my door. She unlocked it. The window was down. And she pointed a taser at me and ordered me to get out of the van. I managed to start my phone and start filming. She pulled me out of the van. The whole time I was stating that they were acting under color of law. This was kidnapping. How can they justify injuring a peaceful, harmless being, just doing no harm and minding their own business?
How can they justify? Well, it's easy. They've lost their humanity. When they put on that uniform and that badge, they automatically lose their humanity, and they acquire immunity. And they have immunity from rules and laws and regulations and natural law that applies to you, but automatically it doesn't apply to them because they've carved out for themselves a bubble of immunity. So they don't feel, they don't think, they don't do anything but conform and follow orders. And in a lot of cases, they don't even follow their own rules. They'll go beyond their own rules because they're so drunk, they're so inebriated on their own power. It's like, I gotta hurt somebody. And then they come up with the justification, but the kids for the children. Do you realize there are children in this school and you're driving a white van? Guess what? It's not a crime to drive a white van. It is not a crime to drive a white van onto school property. It is not a crime to drive a white van on school property and sit in that van on school property and watch children. It is not a crime. You've not committed a crime until you've committed a crime. And there is no crime if there is no victim. No victim, no crime. So I agree everything with what she says.
and and by their continuing, they agree to pay me 10 million silver dollars. They continued, and by their continuing to assault me, they agreed to my fees. They pulled me out of the van. They put me up against the...
Now, some people would laugh at this, but it's like, okay, look, I'm a man, you're a man. If you harm me, here's what you have to do. Because I'm not harming you. I'm not reaching out my hand to harm you. I'm not harassing you. I'm not getting into your life. I'm not engaging in a non-consensual encounter with you, but you're doing that to me. You're harassing me. All I want to do is be left alone. I'm obviously not doing anything wrong. I don't even know how much more clear it could be.
The front window of the van, another agent, male agent, black man, in a blue shirt, and the original female agent were handcuffing me while telling me I'm not under arrest. I still didn't know why they were even there.
Don't you love that? Look, you're not under arrest. We're just going to take these silver bracelets and we're going to put them on your wrists real tight like, and they did. They damaged her wrists. And we're going to put your hands tied behind your back, and we're going to throw you into a vehicle, and we're going to close the door, and we're going to drive you to a police station, and we're going to lock you up in our basement. But it's not an arrest. Get that out of your head. It's not an arrest. It might look like an arrest. It might feel like an arrest. You might feel like you're getting oppressed, but it's not an arrest. That's how psychotic these people are.
And then Cole started his camera, and I handed him my camera. So he was filming with both cameras. He didn't catch a lot of really documenting what was happening to me, but some of it was. And then they took me to the police, a third agent's car, to put me in the car. I was told that agent the same thing. I wouldn't get in his car willingly, and that I'm just a peaceful being doing no harm, and how can they morally justify injuring me, that the handcuffs were hurting me, and they should just let me go.
And think about it. The handwriting's on the wall. She's using her words. Words are vehicles of thought. The thoughts she's putting into their minds is the absolute truth about what's actually going on right now. And what didn't go on then, in other words, a crime wasn't committed. Right now, you guys are aggressing against me. Right now, you guys are initiating violence against a peaceful person. I just want you to know that. And if you continue to initiate violence against a peaceful person, then my fee is $10 million payable in silver, not fiat.
As he was putting me in his car, I told him I wouldn't get in willingly, and he gently forced me into his car. The whole time I was telling him in the back of the car that the handcuffs, as he was putting me in the car, the female agent rushed up behind me and slammed the handcuffs on my wrists as hard as she possibly could, almost as if she was trying to cut my hands right off. They were so tight, I was in excruciating pain. The officer transporting me to the jail, who I was telling the whole time the same spiel, that he's acting under color of law, this is a kidnapping, by continuing he owes me such and such. And
now one of those troll guys says it's not kidnapping, it's an arrest. It's not theft, it's seizure. Guys, theft by any other name, like a rose by any other name, smells just as sweet, looks the same. Theft under any other name is still theft. Kidnapping under any other name is still kidnapping. You can try to pacify yourself. You can try to use euphemisms all you want to soothe your conscience or whatever you're trying to do there. But the fact is still the fact. It is kidnapping. It is theft. And it's almost like the law enforcers are on the clock to interfere with your life, to get in the way of your liberty, to make sure that you don't pursue happiness. They want to do the exact opposite to you. Else, why would they do it? And they've got to have a quota. I mean, how does it make them feel good to pull somebody over and give them a $100 ticket, let alone abuse a clearly peaceful person who hasn't harmed anybody? And their egos are so freaking bruised and hurt and crushed and shattered that they got to take it out on this lady because all she did was deny them an ID. That's it? Really? So you don't have to, people are like, just comply. It's not a big deal. Do what the officer said. I've had 20, 30, 50 run-ins in my lifetime with cops and it went completely smooth. Yeah, because you rolled over. You didn't comply. You didn't bruise their egos. You let them sip a little bit long on that authoritarian power tripping that they were going on. And they got their way, and then you lost a little bit more of your freedoms. And then the next, let's say this happened in the 70s, and then the next generation lost their freedoms. The next generation is going to lose their freedoms because you complied. And you'll comply all the way into a pit, all the way into a deterrent camp, an internment camp. You'll all the way to beyond the barbed wire, all the way into a FEMA camp, all the way to a chamber, all the way to a mass grave. Just keep on complying, see where that gets you. Just don't stand up. Yeah, it's going to go easy for you. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they'll pull the trigger on you like Daniel Shaver, who's trying to comply like crazy. Philando Castile, here, you want my ID? Here it is. Too late. You're gone. All I did was try to comply. Yep, that's all. That's the answer, isn't it, bootlickers? Just comply. Just do what they said. What's the big deal? The big deal is freedom matters. And every time you comply, you give away a little bit more of your freedom, and then they get a little bit more power. It's this power and wealth transfer. They get a little bit more money out of you because you complied. Now you're a little bit more poor, and the state is a little bit richer. You give a little bit of your freedoms away. They acquire that freedom, and they get more powerful. And then they can do it the next time, and then the next time. And then they can use that as a precedent.
How can he morally justify injuring a peaceful being? That I'm a musician, and these handcuffs could possibly be injuring me to where I could not support myself again. He offered to take me to the hospital to have the handcuffs checked. I had no idea that was going to delay them coming off of me, so I was probably in the handcuffs for an hour and a half to 2 hours before they actually took them off. Cinched down on me as tight as they could possibly go.
And look at this woman. She is no threat to anybody. She's skinny as a rail. She's not going to be able to do anything to anybody. You know, if you were going to put the handcuffs on her, why do they have to make the handcuffs so frickin' tight? Why do they have to make them so frickin' sharp? Why do they have to hurt people? I mean, there are people who have had the handcuffs on so tight and so long that they have nerve damage in their fingers. It's unconscionable.
The nurse at the hospital lied and said that they were not too tight, so that didn't do me any good to go to the hospital. It just delayed getting them off. While I was at the hospital, another agent came in to identify me with an electronic device. I did not consent to that, and I told him by continuing he owes me also. He continued. He forced my fingers onto a device to fingerprint me. It took him about 10 or 15 minutes before he could get a reading.
God, can you just... It's psychopaths. Who does that? Give me your finger. Give me your finger. Give me your finger. Get your finger. Get your ID. We need your ID. Gosh dang it. I'm having with ID withdrawals, and it's been 5 minutes since I got somebody's ID, and I need more. I need more.
He looked up at the other.
If you can come up with a better, psychopath, sociopath, nutcase, nut job, one flew over the cuckoo's nest, fit for a padded cell. If you can think of a better, I know I keep using psychopath and I'm wearing it out to where it even sounds meaningless, but I can't think of a better term of somebody who's going to force somebody against their will to get, and the person didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do anything wrong. That person knows they didn't do anything. Officer Amanda Winters knows that she didn't do anything wrong, but they're still going to do this anyway.
Officer who was transporting me and said, nothing is coming back. It's like she doesn't even exist. Then the other officer transported me to the jail. As he did so, I was telling him more things, that I was a musician and that I'm still injured, and why couldn't he just loosen the handcuffs? He said he couldn't do it. I guess.
Yeah, that's the word that I used the other day, abstract. Sadist. Somebody who derives pleasure from harm, other injury, suffering, or even if it's emotional, even emotional trauma. Somebody who's intentionally inflicting emotional trauma on you, which that's emotional. And physical. Somebody who wants to see you hurt. That's a sadist, and they enjoy it. They pretend that they don't. I'm just doing this. I'm just doing my job. Well, that doesn't absolve you of your crime that you're committing right now. And people are like, overturn Terry v. Ohio, get rid of qualified immunity. How about get rid of the police departments? They're the ones that are causing the problems. They're not making our streets safer. Do you feel safe when when a cop pulls alongside of you? I don't. I'm a little concerned, actually. He might look over at me. I might look a certain way. I might do something wrong. Even if you don't say FTP, even if you wave at him, that might be your last wave, buddy. Better breathe the last deep breaths of oxygen this side of eternity. I'm completely put a 1 in the room. Well, yeah, put a 1 in the room. If you are completely at ease and it's no problem when you see a cop, I'm concerned. I'm on high alert. That's domestic terrorism is near. Boop, 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 boop. Something's going wrong. Something's wrong. Put a 2 in the room if you feel diseased when you see a cop. I think it's a normal person to look at a cop and go, wow, I've heard even if bad stuff hasn't personally happened to you, you've heard about it happening to others. And in the age of YouTube, you've seen it happen many times to others. Not interested in getting into any conversation with any cop. And you know what really makes the alarm bells go off? When that cop approaches you and he's real friendly like. He's a real nice guy. And he said, hey, did you see that game last night? Man, are you a Bills fan or a Bengals fan? Are you a San Francisco fan? It's like, I don't want any part of this conversation. Sorry. This can't lead anywhere good. You trying to Daniel Shaver me? You trying to Philando Castile me?
His hands were tied.
Put a 5 if you ever met a good cop, says B-Dub.
Asked me to sing him a song, so I did. I sang him a song in the back of his car. I believe that the man was literally in tears after I sang him that song.
We got to get the body cam footage. We got to find out what the date was. I want to hear her sing that song. I want to see his reaction. I want to see if there's usually they have a front-facing, rear-facing dash cam, and usually it's facing actually inside the cab. That would be very interesting. If we could FOIA request that body cam footage, that would be interesting. I want to see Amanda Winter's body cam footage. I want to see her partner's body cam footage. And there was a supervisor on the site too. But I especially want to see inside this cruiser's footage where she was singing him that song.
It's a beautiful song that my niece Johanna wrote called Take All of Me. And when he pulled into the jail, I heard him say over the radio transmission, no, she's not violent. She's very nice. She's very good. No, she's not trying to fight me or anything like that.
There's so many levels on this that I want to address. And yet he continues to take her anyway and not advocate for her. It's like, you know what? I know that you're a good person. I don't know why you're in the back of my police car. I must have got caught up in the moment. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and take you back to your husband. But no, they can't do that. Because they're on the clock. They're just doing their job. They're the authority figures. What would the higher up and what do you mean you took her back and you took her cuffs off and well, there was no crime. She didn't commit a crime, Sarge. Lieutenant, Captain. She didn't commit a crime, so I took her back. Where's that good cop? Where's the good cop that was on the scene to intervene between Officer Amanda Winters and this lady right here? They weren't there. I don't see any evidence of good cops. Nowhere. Why in video after video after video where you see cops doing horrendous thing is there not that S on the chest, good guy cop, I am here to save the day. You will not treat any member of the public like that. You shall be, I'm arresting you. That would be a good cop. Instead of acting as an agent of the state, acting as an advocate for the public. How about that? That's what you're supposed to be, an advocate for the public, not looking for wrongs, not looking to manufacture wrongs, not looking to create and fabricate criminals out of innocent people. You freaking morons.
She's very nice. I ended up telling him I love you, brother, and please, quit this job and stop working for a paycheck injuring people. And find something, really morally right and ethical and honorable to do with your life.
Because it's not morally right and ethical and honorable to have a profession where you're out there harming people, exacting economic terrorism on them, stopping them, harassing them. You know how much production has been halted by law enforcement agents. Wolverine Transparency was just doing a live stream right before my live stream where he was talking about this group of people that was planting coconut trees in Hawaii, and then the development land management authorities or whatever go over there and they arrest the guy. They take him down for what's he doing? Planting coconut trees. If you're not free to plant coconut trees, there ain't no freedom to be found anywhere. You would think they're treating these people like they're hardened criminals and they're out there just, uniting with nature or whatever they do and planting a tree, which is good for the soil and good for you and me. But hey, cops can't have that. No, they got to have you under their thumb. They got to be squishing you with their boot of tyranny. That's what makes me happy. And the irony about this whole thing is the cop who's doing this to you is saying by his actions, I don't mind when the tyranny in the future puts its boots on the people that I love today. I tell you what, man, these people in these positions of power need to frickin' wake up and become human again. Where's that one SS soldier that stands against all the other brown shirts and goes, you know what? I know this is probably going to cost me my life. But you are not going to go through this door right here and terrorize this family. Ain't going to happen. And if it does happen, I guess I won't be alive to see it because it's going to be over my dead body. Where's that guy? Nowhere. Nowhere in America. Nowhere. Don't tell me there's a good cop when they don't step in the way and take down the bad cops and then take down the next bad cop and take down the next bad cop, because the whole department, wherever you go, is filled with them. And this enrages me that they would, if they're going to do this to this lady, they'll do it to you. They'll do it to your mother. They'll do it to your father. And I don't care if your mother and father are in their 80s or 90s. They'll do it to you. Remember that guy who was 92 in Florida? They arrested, they slapped the cuffs on this guy. And what was his crime? He was feeding the homeless. Feeding the homeless. Dave, this is probably not the channel for you. If you think I'm talking too much and you don't need to play-by-play, this is probably not the channel for you.
Pay your bills.
CNN is probably for you. Oh, wait a second. CNN talks too.
Support your family. This is no way to... This is not a thing that anybody should do for a paycheck. Injure people and give them no due process of law. Then they took me into the jail. Some other agents unloaded me. They were very rude, intimidating, coercive, very forceful, ridiculing me. All kinds of things. I told them I was just picking up milk, and they were like, oh, I bet that was some really good milk. They took me into another locked room with two female agents who wanted me to put on their jail clothes. I told them I would not do that willingly. They took off the handcuffs. They witnessed that my hands were all welted up and swollen around the welts. Significantly, really badly. I told them that I was injured and I couldn't even feel my hands anymore. They were totally purple. And they are still injured to this day, 2 weeks after I've been out of their jail, after being in there for 2 weeks. So a month later, their feeling has not returned to my hands. Anyway, the women, I told them I would not get in their showers or put on their clothes or do anything willingly, so they were very gentle. They tried not to hurt me, but it's their job to frisk me.
And remember, gentle tyranny is still tyranny. Tyranny by any other name is still tyranny. Why doesn't anybody come to their senses? Sniff the smelling salts of what's actually happening before their very eyes. This woman can't have committed a crime. What crime was she supposed to? She didn't ID. That's not a crime. Every law enforcement officer that's in that chain, in that system, should say. No, they're not going to say it because they got to get a paycheck. It's like that St. Louis cop said, hey, man, I know what you're saying and I kind of agree with it, but at the end of the day, I got to feed the children. Yeah, but you're feeding your children with money that's coming from harming other people. So you're teaching your child, go ahead and harm other people. If that's the only way you can make a living, just go ahead and just be a garbage person. Just be a garbage pail human being. Be the trash of humanity is what you're telling your kids. don't give me this. I got to feed my children. You can do something else to feed your children, and it doesn't have to include harming your fellow human beings in the process.
And all this other stuff. And they forced my clothes off of me, or they took my clothes off of me. I did not volunteer to do that. And they put their clothes on me. All I had on was, I was barefoot when they grabbed me, and all I had was just a little sarong wrapped around my waist and a tank top. That's all I had. No shoes, nothing. So the women dressed me in their clothes. They put me in a cell all by myself for a day and a half. Then they moved me to another cell, which was by myself, but then they sent 2 other girls in with me while I was in that cell for a couple more, 3 more days. I think 3 more days. And one of the girls that they put in there with me came in there covered in blood because they dish out drugs to these women.
Eurythica is in the chat? No way. What's up, Breaking the Flaw? Hey, I got your message, man. Let's see. Eurythica is in the chat. Hey, sister, how you doing? As you can tell, we're going over your video, and I'll tell you what, it infuriates me what they did to you. Let me know in the chat. Well, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'd love to, if you guys are interested in a live stream with Eurythica to hear her story live, or just to talk about, what she's into or whatever, put a 1 in the room. This woman that's on the screen right now is in the chat. Her name is Eurythica Stasi.
In the jail, twice a day, hard drugs. They scoop them off the streets and feed them crap, but most of the girls knew each other. They all live under bridges, and they all seem to know each other. They had hand signals and vocal signals that they would do to the vents to each other in the different cell blocks. So yeah, they were very familiar with the place, and even some of
wow, Eurythica, look at the ones in the room. Everybody wants to hear you, Eurythica. I mean, what happened to you right here? We are you. You are us. We are one another. And I know that a lot of people in this room, if you saw this happening to Eurythica, I hope I'm not slaughtering your name, but if we saw this happening, I bet a vast majority of you in the chat room would have done a U-turn in the street, and you would have gone to intervene or do something to record so that she could have plenty of evidence so that when she goes to court, she can win at the very least. And I know some of you would probably intervene in a different way. Let's just put it that way.
Prison would be a more preferable environment than this.
And it is not cliche to say we are Eurythica. Eurythica is us. Put yourself in her shoes. There's some things that I just don't consider, like the water that they're going to give you to drink. I mean, you're going to eventually have to get water. You're going to start dehydrating. You eventually will have to eat. So they're going to give you this garbage water filled with no telling what kind of chemicals they got in it. It's probably worse water than you get out of your tap. And that's bad. And the food that they give you, GMOs, poison, whatever they give you, they could put something in there to make you fall asleep or whatever. I wouldn't want to eat or drink anything that they gave me in prison. And then, I don't know if you've ever gone to jail, but when they put me in jail when I was 18 years old, they left me in a cell for like 6.5 hours, and there was nobody else around. I was wide awake, and it's like, it was like between 1 and 7 o'clock in the morning. It was in Florida, Panama City, Florida. A lot of you probably already know that story. But, I couldn't imagine being a day, 2 days, 10 days, 5 weeks alone in solitary confinement. That'll take a negative psychological toll on you that you are not aware of unless you actually go through it. Solitary confinement is the worst, but it's probably preferable to getting thrown in jail with, 5 or 6 other people who mean you some serious harm.
Jail. But they seem to be in and out of there time and time again. It's just a big revenue racket.
Eurythica says, chat is too fast to read, but I've been trying to keep up with your video comments. Thank you all. You guys are, this is, I love the love, man. I love the love, but this love is not, it's not dishpan love. It's not a weak love. It is a strong, courageous love. It's a brave love that stands against the powers that are aligned against us. And if you don't think powers are aligned against us, you're not awake. You're not awake. Cops are not on your side. Cops can't be on your side because they're operating as agents of the corporation. And the corporation doesn't mean for you to, your well-being and your prosperity. They mean to tap into your time and laboring energies, and whatever you produce, they're going to take a portion of that. It's all about theft. It's all about coercion. It's all about violence, and it's all about brutality. Like George Washington said, government is not eloquence. It's not reason. It's not rationality. It's not logic. It is force. And like fire, it's a dangerous servant and a fearful master.
Racketeering scam and the psychological warfare inside of that.
Yep.
What they're doing to those people, the intimidation, the coercion, the bad food, the moldy, toxic, loud, banging, echoing environment where you can't hear anything, and the TV is blasting violent movies constantly. Violent movies about being in jail or being in torture chambers or just all violent stuff. And they're blasting it full blast in an echo chamber at you all the time. And not to mention the high frequency lights that are, toxic, in the mold environment, and the vents blowing on you with mold in them in your individual cells. It's just absolutely excruciating, and torture, and people yelling and banging and constantly yelling at you and intimidating you and threatening you constantly in there. So for 15 days, that's what I was subjected to. When I got out, I was completely traumatized. While I was in there, 3 times they took me to courts. I did not accept their public defender until I'd been in there for 2 weeks already, and they weren't giving me any due process of law. And so it's
like they wear you down. You take this stand, and it's like you against the entire system. And they've got the deep pockets, and they got time to sit back because they're enjoying their lives while you're in a cage. So eventually, it's like, man, I'm getting nowhere. I'm taking a stand, but man, I guess at this point I got to take what I can get, so you can advance forward, so you can do something, so you can get out of there. But listen, guys, it gets worse. Even when they say she's free, she didn't end up being free. You'll find out where they took her.
Allowed the judge to appoint her as a legalese interpreter to common English, not as my attorney or anything else. She did not fulfill that duty that the judge appointed her as. She spoke no common English to me at all. She just rattled off something in legalese to me. She didn't want to hear my side of the story at all. She said she had the story already from them. And so how could she possibly stand in my stead? So I allowed her to talk for me, only to get me out of there, which she did, and maintain my innocence. That's all. And I did it, and I told her it was all under threatened duress, and that she was not to speak legalese on my behalf, and that she was to interpret the charges to me, which she did not do. She just ran roughshod and spoke legalese. She did manage to get them to let me go without having to pay them the $5,000 they were demanding, or a bail agent, $500 of it. I had no reason to believe that they would even let me go if we did pay bail, because in the past my son gave the courts $15,000 cash, without ever having any communication with him at all, to bail me out.
Yeah, if that's not racketeering, I don't know what is. Now, we're going to watch the rest of this, but I watched one of her other videos, and I'm glad she's in the room, because I was starting to think, man, that was like 2 or 3 months ago. I hope she's okay. But there was another video where it said that, and we have not spoken yet. I've reached out, but I'm saying on behalf of her that I know that she needs funds. So if you guys want to support her, don't send a super chat, because YouTube takes 30%. So if you want to send me Cash App or buy me a coffee, 100% of what you give me tonight is going to go to her. So, and I'll give you guys a shout out. If you don't want me to give you a shout out, and you want to stay anonymous, let me know. But if you give a Cash App or a buy me a coffee tonight and tomorrow, 100% of the funds will go to Eurythica. And I'll try to find some kind of transparent way of showing you that, because I feel real funny, you know, collecting money, because it can get a little scammy. But 100% of those funds will go to her, and I'll try to figure out how to get it to her, because she's probably not a Cash App digitized type of person, but I'll try to figure out a way to get it to her in silver. So anyway, and if you do that before the end of the live stream, I'll give you a shout out. Again, if you don't want me to shout you out, I won't, because I understand a lot of people give anonymously and they don't want other people to know what they did. So, and I can appreciate that.
Of another kidnapping situation where they lied through their teeth about everything, and then when they came to release me, said that I had been bailed out and I was free to go. They gave me my own clothes. I put them on, and I took one step out of the jail cell. They shackled me and cuffed me and took me off to a psychiatric ward. So they never let me go on bail. So I had no reason to believe this time that they would. And you can.
Yeah, I can't take PayPal because I got terminated from PayPal and Patreon and Venmo and a bunch of the other payment processors. So I don't know. I just do Cash App and buy me a coffee and subscribe star. That's the only people that'll accept me now.
See that story on my YouTube channel, Earthica Star. It's called Sovereign Woman Kidnapped, and you can hear that whole story about what happened before. I had no reason to believe that, you know, I don't have $5,000 or $500 to give them in the first place. While I was in the jail, many of my friends, I had Cole, my love, my sweetest love. He was working so hard the whole time, studying law, studying everything he could get his hands on, calling everybody, calling the public defender, calling the sheriffs, calling the police, calling lawyers, calling the World Service Authority, who issues the world passports. He recorded all of our calls from the jail. He set it up with their system so that...
Holy cow, guys. Thank you. Deanna, I'm not going to say the last name. Deanna N. just dropped. Mitten State just dropped $5. Deanna N. $10. Jeremiah B. $8. Thank you, guys.
All my calls could be paid for, and he put different people that I could call in that system, and it was paid for, so I wouldn't have any trouble making calls. All of the calls I made from the jail were recorded, and many of them were uploaded to the internet. He was reaching out to people I knew in the community and everything. The people that we're staying with now somehow have misconstrued even what happened with the story, why we were even asked for ID by the cops. And I just want to iterate right now, I had no knowledge of them, of why we were even still sitting there. I was not paying any attention. I did not know if Cole had already given the officer an ID or anything about what was going on behind me when she asked me for ID, and I told her it was none of her business. I found out later in Cole's mind, he thought that I was answering for him, that she was asking him for ID, or maybe she was asking both of us. But that just tells me...
Oh, Valentino, I gave you a shout out. Yeah, actually, I appreciate that. I gave you a shout out about, I don't know, 5 or 6, I don't know, 5 or 6 videos ago, but yeah, sorry you missed that, but yes, I did get that. And thank you for that. I appreciate it. And Star says that Cole does have Cash App. So, okay, so what we need to do, Star, is if you can email me at contact@highimpactflix.com and maybe send me your number and then Cole's Cash App, I'll try to get in touch with you tonight. I don't know what time it is there, but here at 6:48, if you want me to give you a call tonight, I will after this live stream. But yeah, we'll get those funds into your account ASAP.
She had not already verified why we were there with Cole. And
actually, you know what you could do is just bypass me and put Cole's Cash App in I don't even know why I didn't think of this. If Cole has a Cash App, Star, drop it in the chat room right now, and they can just go straight to you and just bypass me. Just give it straight to Star. And if you could, after I get done with this live stream, you could probably do this right now, is just update your description right here and put your Cash App under here if you feel comfortable with that. I mean, you're not asking for the money. I'm asking for the money for you. So,
which I learned later They were suspicious that we were sitting in front of a school. And they accused us of interfering with school staff, illegally parking, and
Holy cow, Matt B just dropped 50 frickin' bucks for Star. Thank you guys. Jeez, thank you.
and charged me with resisting arrest and suspicious of stalking children. Well, if any of those were even true, why didn't they arrest Cole? Cole was free to go. He's the one. It was his van.
Okay, I just made you a mod so you can actually drop a link, Star. Yurthika. Man, I hope I'm not slaughtering that. Yurthika, you can drop a link, a Cash App link.
Parked it there. He was the only one who got out of the van. He was obviously and clearly taking milk jugs out of his van, set them on the street, and as far as I know, he had told the officer this before she ID'd me. He told her something. She did not verify that. She just rolled forward. Next thing I know, a taser is pointed at me, and I'm going off to jail for 2 weeks, 15 days.
Caleb and Tashanta, thank you for that. Hey, I want to jump in on this right here. Imagine, okay, let's just pretend you're a cop, okay? And you see these people that have these empty milk bottles, and they're not engaged in any criminal activity. They're not all wild and crazy looking. They don't look like they're all strung out on drugs and doing weird stuff. It looks like they got milk bottles. Even if you were a law enforcer, somehow, you would immediately quit the next day. I know you would. I would be like, I'm a what? You wake up from a deep sleep and it's like, man, what do I do for a living? Oh, you're a police officer. Oh, police. Wait, I'm a what? Okay, I quit. There's no way I'm going to be a police officer. Maybe you might stick it out for a couple days, but they're going to be tired of you. You'll get caught. Hey, we're going to conduct a raid at 503 Maple. It's going to be at 3 o'clock in the morning. Make sure you're on the front lines, Brian, and then you die by friendly fire, or they put something in your drink, or you get fired. Because you're not going to be, if you were a good cop doing good for the people and you were constantly getting in the way of the bad cops, you wouldn't be a cop for very long, because the Thin Blue Line gang members, the Masonic order of oppression, is not going to. They won't abide with that. Not for a long time. You're going to be ousted. You're going to be gone real quick. Tony, thank you. Hope this helps from the UK. Tony, I really appreciate that. 20 pounds.
And while I was in there, I was totally poisoned. I told them I have mycotoxic allergies, and told them that I was allergic to sugar and nuts and grains and lots of stuff. They paid no mind to that. I told the medical staff that. The medical staff said I needed to take that up with the chefs, my health issues. I was forced to even give them anything, sign anything for their booking process under threat and duress, without my consent. But I did it because they were not allowing.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that this link works real quick, guys. Let's see. All right, here we go. This is Cole. Cole is Eurythika's husband, who she's talking about. Jason Haley. That's this right here, and the link is in the here. I'll drop this link too. This is the link if you want to support them, because they're going to have a legal battle. I'll tell you this right now. And again, I want to make it clear, she is not asking for it. She's not begging for money. She didn't ask me to ask for it. I'm doing it because I would want somebody to do that to me, for me. If I was in this position I was being oppressed by the state and held against my will by the state, and shame, just put in a shameful situation where they're taking off your clothes and they're searching you and they're putting you through all this just humiliating garbage, and then they make it matters worse by giving you their clothes and then locking you into a cage and taking your fingerprints and probably DNA, God knows what. I would want somebody to come to my aid, and you would too. And this is where we all stick to. None of us is freaking greater than all of us, guys. None of us.
Any phone calls. They put me in 3 cells the time that I was there. First, solitary one for a couple of days, then one where they put 2 other girls in with me, and then they took me to They left me in there for several days. The people were calling it quarantine, in case you had COVID or something. Yet they put a girl in there covered in blood for 3 days and never even gave her clean clothes because she's in quarantine. She might be a COVID risk.
Just real quick, guys. Brian Bush bought 5 coffees. That's like $5 per coffee. That's $25. Meet the People bought a coffee. Utah Cop Watch. Kevin, P Legend, Jonathan. Thank you, guys.
Then they put me in the in a larger cell block with many cells upstairs and downstairs. They put me in a downstairs one because I cannot walk upstairs. I was there for the next week and a half in that cell with a lot of really wild people who were, a lot of them were harassing me. They didn't like that I maintained my own free status in this world, and perhaps they believe that they're all bound to the system, and evidently my friends who I'm staying with, who offered me and Cole a place to stay, and now are saying that Cole had to leave and that he should not be in court behind me, and he should not be interfering with this, when Cole is the one who was with me and is the only first-hand witness I have, and he's my husband, and I love him dearly, and he was a lion, and he defended me in every way that he could, and it was like he was in jail with me, even though he was on the outside. He did not sleep, couldn't eat, he was just almost as traumatized as I was being inside of there, and making calls and trying to straighten everything out with everyone, and they were just leading him around in circles, nobody giving him any information. And yeah, it's just a circus run. And then I get out and my friends are telling us that we have to leave here. Or, well, if they're telling Cole, even while I was in jail, that he has to leave. And so what? So I'm going to get out of jail, not have any transportation, no phone, no communication. They cut off my internet. I haven't had internet for 5 days now, and I don't have a phone, so the internet is my only communication with people. I'm waiting now for a friend of mine to send me a phone in the mail, who is helping me get, so I can make calls and work on my own defense here. And they want me back in court on October 28th. And if I don't show up, they're threatening to charge me $5,000 and put out a warrant for my arrest. And
what a joke!
This whole thing is complete fraud, and it was kidnapping, and they did not verify anything. There's only one complaint by the officer, and the charges are interfering with school staff and resisting arrest. Well, if I was interfering with school staff or illegally parked or anything else, why wasn't Cole arrested?
That is a good point. Oh, if you were really worried about the kids, why'd you take away the person who didn't give the ID? Who's with the person who, gave what his ID was? If it was really about the kids, that doesn't really add up, does it?
Why was it?
We got another minute, less than a minute here.
And so, sorry, I'm sitting in the dark this whole time. So, anyway, thanks for listening, and please like and subscribe this video and channel, and look forward to future interviews and my past interviews with Joe Baker on RemedyReport.com.
So this lady was treated as an enemy of the state. And do you know why? Because this lady is an enemy of the state, because normal people are enemies of the state. Here's her link right here. There's 632 people in here right now. What if we got our 500 subscribers right now? Boom, right off the bat. And what if we went there, and we started watching some of her videos and we could get her monetized? I don't know. Maybe she is monetized. Maybe she has enough views or whatever, or if she's even interested in that. But we need to help each other, man. That is what we need to do. Let me go to her. Let me go to her page right here. This is her. This is, what I'll do? I'll give you You need to see this video right here. I'm not going to play it right here. I want you to go to her channel to watch it. Here's the link right here. I'm going to drop. There's the link to Eurythica's channel called Earthica Star. And this is where she was actually on a Zoom call for her hearing, her public hearing. And wait till you see what the public pretender said, and wait till you hear what the judge said. See, this lady's brave. She's taken a stand. She's taken a stand against the system. She's taken a stand against the immoral agents of the system. And, you know, when you take that stand, there's going to be some pushback. But what if she could take the stand not alone, but with a whole bunch of other people who are in her corner, who call the... I'll get as much detail. I want to find out who the cops were. I know it was Amanda Winters was the female cop. I want to know what police department they're from, so we can call that police department, so we can call the judge, so that we can send letters, emails, or whatever it takes, so we can help her financially. Because I'm telling you guys, you know, it's going to happen to us one day. If we don't help other people, who's going to help us when it's our time of need? And we can do it. None of us is greater than all of us. So real quick, Shane, let's see, just a couple of cash apps that just came in. Christopher G, holy crap. Christopher G, $50. Another one from Christopher G, Jeffrey N. I almost said your last name. Shane H, thank you for that cash app. Alan, Caleb, which is Caleb and Tashanta. Thank you guys. Matt B, we've already gone over those. Let me just see if there's any coffees. The account someone, let's see. Let me refresh this. Someone with 5 coffees, Brian B with 5 coffees. Okay, so we're up to date on that. I appreciate it, guys. I'm going to, again, the cash app for Eurythica, and hopefully I'll be able to call her tonight. Email me at contact@highimpactflix.com. And if you have a phone number, Star, let me know, and I'd like to talk to you, because I really do want to help. I want to help anybody who's in trouble. I want us to gather around. If all of us, can you imagine if all of us just chipped in, if 500 people chipped in $5, it's $2,500 like that, and didn't cost each individual person a whole lot of money, but all of us together got together and did great things. That's just awesome stuff. Thanks, Trot Golfer. Hey, me and San Joaquin Valley were talking about you, Trot Golfer. I really appreciate you calling all those precincts in New York and putting them on blast, and you did it in a fantastic way. It was really good. Matter of fact, I was thinking about maybe highlighting it, but I saw David from San Joaquin Valley already did it, and he did a good job. So thanks for dropping those. Okay, so please go over to Earthica Star's channel. Let's all subscribe to her. Watch this. There's the link to the last video right there, where she's on that Zoom call for her public hearing. And I appreciate you guys joining. If you would just be so kind as to hit this video with a like, leave a comment, because that really helps overcome the algorithm, so we can get this video right here in front of as many people as possible. That's 1 hour and 3 minutes. And I think that's long enough. I appreciate it. Eurythica, we're going to try to send you some help. And anybody who's in trouble by the long arm of the law, you know, we're going to try to all band together. If I want this channel to be anything, or my social media presence to be anything, I want it to be a haven of help, where we not only push back the tides of tyranny and plant brush fires of freedom in the minds of men, but we also help people out who've been caught in the cesspool, the cesspit of statism. I appreciate you guys. I will see you in the next heavily censored shadow ban live stream, and you guys take it easy. But more than that, pay the price of freedom. It's eternal vigilance. And indifference to this notion is the means by which the people have and will secure their own oppression. I will see you guys in the next video. And I got a doozy coming up tomorrow, so stay tuned.